Hi, my name is James, and in this video, we're going to go over some of the more advanced rules and concepts in Netrunner, more commonly found outside of System Gateway. Let's first talk about damage. You may have noticed that there are two types of damage in System Gateway, net damage and meat damage. So what's the difference? Net damage is thematically meant to represent neural feedback while the runner is jacked into the net. Meat damage is meant to represent harm done to the runner's physical body in the real world. But mechanically in the game, net damage and meat damage are identical. The runner must randomly discard cards from their grip equal to damage done. However, there are certain cards which make relevant the specific type of damage being done. For instance, some runner cards may offer protection from net damage but not meat damage, or vice versa. But there's a third type of damage, core damage, which was previously known as brain damage, that is mechanically different. The thematic implication of net and meat damage is that the runner can just draw cards to recover from the damage. Not so with core damage, which is thematically meant to represent a permanent critical injury to the runner. For each core damage the runner suffers, the runner must still randomly discard one card from hand, but then the runner's maximum hand size limit is permanently reduced by 1 for the rest of the game. You may wish to use tokens or dice to track the number of times the runner has taken core damage. If the runner's maximum hand size limit ever falls below 0, the runner is flatlined and the corp wins. Now let's talk about viruses. Viruses are a subtype of program found in runner decks. Virus programs usually reference virus counters that get placed on that card and can be spent in various ways as dictated by the card. But runners should beware. As a basic action, the corp can spend 3 clicks to purge viruses and remove all virus tokens from the table. The next concept to go over is tags. Tags are thematically meant to represent the corporation gaining information about the runner they're playing against. The runner's name, the runner's location, maybe even the runner's bank account login information. There are various ways the runner might take tags. Commonly, ICE subroutines and certain corp operations may give the runner tags. Again, you may wish to use dice or tokens to keep track of how many tags the runner has. While the runner has at least 1 tag, the runner is said to be tagged. While the runner is tagged, the corp can use the basic ability to spend 1 click and 2 credits to trash 1 runner resource card from the table. While tagged, the runner can also use a basic ability to spend 1 click and 2 credits to remove 1 tag. The runner should be aware that having their resources trashed isn't the only risk of being tagged. Many corp decks will commonly include tag punishment cards, which can do nasty things to a tagged runner. Next up is bad publicity. Thematically, I think it's pretty self-explanatory actually. When the corporation takes bad publicity, 1 bad publicity token should be placed near the corporation. But I've actually found it more helpful to place the bad publicity tokens on the runner's side instead. That's because for each bad publicity the corporation has, the runner gets 1 temporary credit to spend on any run. These temporary credits are awarded at the beginning of each run and expire at the end of each run, so the runner should be sure to spend any bad publicity credits before they spend credits from their credit pool. Next up, let's talk about traces. Traces are always tied to an effect and have a starting strength. If the runner does not match the strength of the trace, the effect will occur. But before that happens, the corporation is allowed to boost the strength of the trace. They do this by spending credits equal to the amount the corp wishes to boost by. Each runner identity has a starting link strength listed at the top left of their identity card. Starting with this number, the runner can then boost their link strength by 1 for each credit spent. If the runner's final total link strength matches the corp's total trace strength, the trace effect will not occur. But if the runner's link strength is below the trace strength, it will occur. And there you have it. Those are most of the advanced mechanics in Netrunner that occur outside of System Gateway. Now let's talk a little bit about deck building. When deck building, you'll first need to select an identity to play as. Your identity will determine your deck size, your influence, and will give you an ability that starts the game in play. Let's look at this corporation identity as an example. This is an HB faction identity called Precision Design. This number is the minimum deck size. This number represents the number of influence points your deck has to spend on importing out-of-faction cards. Most cards belonging to a certain faction have an influence cost in pips printed in the lower left. These pips represent the amount of points it costs to import this card into a different faction's deck. This card has 1 pip, and would count 1 towards the influence limit if imported into a different faction. Neutral cards which have a gray background and no pips can be imported into any deck for no influence cost. Notably, corporation agenda cards that belong to a specific faction cannot be imported into another faction's deck. This means non-neutral agenda cards are locked into the factions they're printed for. Speaking of agendas, how many agenda points do you need to include in your corp deck? A 40 to 44 card corp deck needs to have 18 or 19 agenda points. A 45 to 49 card corp deck needs to have 20 or 21 agenda points. The number of necessary agenda points follows this pattern, increasing by 2 for each 5 additional cards in a deck. But you don't need to worry too much about this. You can use a tool like Netrunner DB when deck building to assist you with how many agenda points need to be included in your deck. It's common for corporation decks in Netrunner to use the minimum number of agenda points necessary, but to use the upper limit of the deck size at that range. Although a smaller deck size would lead to more consistent card draw, corp players in Netrunner usually prioritize having a smaller agenda density. That is, a fewer number of agenda cards per card in their deck. That's to minimize the risk of the runner getting a lucky access when running on HQ or R&D. Now let's talk about the different factions in Netrunner, starting with the corp side. The world of Netrunner is ruled by 4 mega corporations, the first of which is HB. HB stands for Haas Bioroid and is represented by the color purple. In the world of Netrunner, the Haas Bioroid corporations are experts in AI and cybernetics and have utilized their expertise in these fields to invent bioroids. Bioroids are artificial androids programmed by HB to perform a wide variety of jobs. HB has been so successful in selling their bioroids that large swaths of the human workforce are being replaced with android labor. Mechanically in the game, HB is all about efficiency, gaining extra clicks, performing tasks extra efficiently, and protecting their agendas with their high-strength bioroid ice. In lore, HB's main corporate rival is Jinteki, a biotech company that also specializes in cloning and genetic engineering. Represented by the color red, Jinteki competes with HB's bioroids by producing genetically engineered clones that are highly specialized for specific jobs. There are rumors that Jinteki has conducted secret experiments in genetic engineering, resulting in subjects with unnatural psionic abilities. Jinteki loves their secrets, traps, and deception, just as much as they love dealing net damage to unsuspecting runners. NBN is an information news and media empire. Represented by the color yellow, the NBN company acronym has stood for various things in the past, but the company has been through so much growth, so many mergers and acquisitions, that the NBN acronym itself doesn't stand for anything at all anymore, except people know it as the only possible place to get their news, their information, and their media. In the game, NBN often has a game plan consisting of tagging the runner, then dealing swift punishment to runners unable to shake tags. NBN is also known for having a game plan to create many, many remote servers filled with assets granting beneficial abilities. The final megacorporation in Netrunner is the Weyland Consortium. Represented by a dark shade of green, the Weyland Consortium dabbles in many fields: construction, energy, weapons, and private security, just to name a few. Some of Weyland's dealings have earned them a very negative reputation with the public, but Weyland has become too rich and too powerful to care what the people think. Weyland often has a bold game plan, sometimes installing their agendas face up and just daring the runner to come try and steal them. They're also known for taking bad publicity in exchange for massive piles of cash. Sometimes Weyland will even destroy their own servers if they find it beneficial. Over on the runner side, there are 3 main factions, starting with Anarchs. Represented by the color orange, Anarchs run because they want change. They see injustices in the world caused by megacorporation greed and have decided to do something about it, consequences be damned. Anarchs are known for doing nothing in moderation, achieving their goals at any cost, even if the cost is their own bodies and minds. They often use virus programs to trash the corpse cards and disrupt their game plan. Criminals are in it for the money. Represented by the color blue, criminals run and steal from the corpse because stolen data can be very, very lucrative. A criminal's game plan often consists of playing powerful run events, pressuring the corporation HQ and stealing their credits. They're known for being deceptive and sneaking right into servers previously thought to be very well defended. Finally, there are shapers. Represented by the color green, shapers run not for change and not for money, but because they can. Because it's a challenge. To shapers, the Corp's defenses are just a puzzle to be solved, and solving puzzles is fun. Some shaper decks are like toolboxes, with shapers able to produce solutions to problems seemingly out of nowhere, as though it were magic. Other shapers enjoy building out a big rig of hardware and programs with customized solutions to each problem. Shapers are also known to pressure the Corp's R&D, accessing multiple cards at a time. So now that you know a little bit about each faction, hopefully you have some ideas on which decks and strategies sound appealing to you, and maybe you want to try building a deck of your own. If you're new to the game, I would strongly recommend net decking. That is, going to Netrunner DB, finding a deck that's popular, and just making it your own. Netrunner can be a very complex game, and sometimes when you're starting out, it can be helpful to play a deck that's already been finely tuned by someone else. That way, you can get a feel for the strategy of the deck and which cards work well within that deck, before going off on your own and trying to create something without knowing what else is out there and what works and what doesn't. Now let's talk about organized play. There are 3 main formats in Netrunner that determine which cards are legal for play. The standard format is the most widely played format. All products currently being sold by Null Signal are currently legal for play in the standard format. Additionally, several Fantasy Flight products are also legal in standard: Red Sand, Katara, Rain on Reverie, and Magnum Opus, although Null Signal has announced plans to rotate these legacy products out of the standard format in the near future. Since Fantasy Flight no longer sells these cards, they've become hard to find, and buying them secondhand can be very expensive. However, Null Signal allows proxies for any card at any level of competitive play. Websites like proxynexus.net are great for creating Netrunner proxies. You could even proxy an entire deck. A ban list also exists for the standard format, where cards found to be overtuned or unhealthy for the metagame are banned from play. This ban list can be found on Null Signal's website, but deck builders like Netrunner DB will inform you if a card is currently banned. The second format of play is called Startup. Startup is the format with the smallest card pool, and it's perfect for newer players ready to take the next step after System Gateway. Startup currently consists of Null Signal's System Gateway set, System Update 2021 set, the most recent Cycle, which is 2 sets that are thematically and mechanically linked, and the most recent set from an incomplete cycle if applicable. This might be hard to keep track of, but again, deck building tools like Netrunner DB can help you with which sets are currently legal in each format. Also, new players should be aware that Null Signal has announced plans to replace the System Update 2021 set with a new product in the near future. When that product is released, System Update 2021 will be rotated out of the standard and startup formats. The final format is Eternal, where every single Netrunner card ever printed is legal, minus the ones that appear on the Eternal ban list. As one might imagine, with a card pool so large, this is the wildest, wackiest, and most powerful format in the game. And that is all you should need to know to get started playing Netrunner. Hopefully you found this video series helpful. You can leave any feedback in the comments. My name is James, and hopefully I'll see you out there running on the nets.